I was going to say more, but actually I'm going to leave it there because I know we've only got 15 minutes to speak. But these are the email addresses that you can contact me. But if you want to know more about kind of awakening to vulnerability, there's an organisation in Vancouver that run 3-day workshops. And if you kind of email me at any of those addresses there, you'll be able to find out more about that. But it's a very particular way of conducting yourself in the workplace that for us has kind of proved dramatically successful. Our outputs in terms of the men who come through treatment, we're kind of soaring with our successful outcomes. And that's not just because we've got a new model. We're just doing therapy that's been around for a long time. But it's because of how the staff interact. The staff are modelling leadership all the time. They're modelling recovery, they're modelling personal accountability, and in particular, they're modelling leadership to each other. Do you want me to see if there's any questions now or at the end? Okay. So I'll leave it there, but I'm very happy for people to come and speak to me. And I've got some information leaflets that I can give you about Tom Harrison House. But also go on the clearmind.com website and have a look at the work that they're doing. They're based in Vancouver, and they are an incredible organisation that works with personal leadership and how to create legacy from your workplace. Thank you.
That way they say pictures give you 1,000 words. That way we can cut off a whole lot in 15 minutes. My background is Greek upbringing in Australia as a migrant. My parents came from a war, from abject poverty. They migrated. My mother's still 93 years old, never once go back to Greece. She does not feel that Greece is her home, Australia's her home, because it was the land of her opportunity. Still can't speak English, but loves Australia. So my background is I grew up in an environment where I grew up in 3 cults. Does everyone understand what a cult means? Cult can be positive, it can be negative, it's simply culture. When the culture gets a bit too strong, it turns into a cult, it becomes a negative. My 3 cults were simply this. I grew up in a very, very strong Greek family. And whilst that was very positive growing up in a Greek family where you have a very strong community, a very strong culture, everyone's your cousin, when we have a family get together, it's very much like the Indian culture. I have 3 grandchildren that are Indian, so I have an interest in India. And so growing up in that sort of environment, as you turn into 17, 18 years old and being a very independent person, where the teachers would say, keep away from Tom because he's a bad influence. And what the teachers would mean was, we don't know what to do with him. We can't control him. So therefore, because we can't control him, he's a bad influence. My parents would say, Tom, what are you doing? Well, they hardly knew what I was doing because I was a bad influence. I ended up leaving my family and causing a lot of issues with my family, and I joined a church. And as I joined the church, I caused a lot of problems with my Greek community. In their minds, I lost my faith. I went away from the roots of my upbringing. I was the black sheep of the family, and all the connotations that come with that because I made an independent choice to self-govern. I didn't know that at the time. I was 17. I was just experimenting. Rather than doing drugs, I did religion. Rather than becoming an alcoholic, I did religion. And when I entered into this church, I loved it because it showed this incredible vibrancy where people's lives were being changed and incredible stories of drug addicts almost instantly coming off drugs, alcohol instantly coming off alcohol. And I couldn't explain that. It wasn't very logical. But as the years went by, I ended up going into the ministry, married, children, and I ended up traveling around the world. I spoke 2,000 messages, some 100 different churches around the world. By the time I was 38, I came to grips with the fact that I joined another cult. There's all of a sudden this thing that kept me, that was allowing me to grow, just like my mum and dad, they gave me so much confidence and then they restricted me. By the time I was 38, this movement that I was a part of, this incredible energy that I was a part of, was restricting my thoughts, my ability to self-govern, to make choices independent. And rather than let me be me, they said, we love your talents, we love your energy, you've pioneered churches, you're incredible, but if you're going to stay among us, you've got to work within the confines of this beautiful church. No, got to work within the confines of reality, the cult, because that's what it was. It was causing problems in my marriage, it was causing problems with my children, it was causing problems with my conscience. I left that. Caused a lot of problems in internal flight. And I joined the corporate cult. I fell into the corporate cult. I needed to make money, I needed to survive, and I got into commercial management, and I ended up being very, very good at real estate and managing shopping centres, and for 10 years I tripled my portfolio. Still don't know much about real estate, but I connect with people. And the boss would go, how on earth did you get that? Well, I did a bit of marriage counselling and gave me his property portfolio. What's that got to do with it? So 10 years of doing real estate, what happened? What happens to you? You're growing and you're growing and you're growing, and they see your talent. They see your energy. And all of a sudden, these rich people say, I want that energy. I actually want to own that energy. Just like my parents, we gave you life, you owe us. Just like the church movement, we gave you the opportunity, you owe us at some point. Not today, you don't have to pay today, but one day you're going to have to pay back what we gave you. The corporate world, we gave you a start, you had no understanding, and now you're making lots of money, you owe us. And I would have wealthy people trying to own this gift that doesn't belong to them, and it doesn't even belong to me. I'm a steward of this gift. And so at 48, I left that cult. And the wealthy people said, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to start this thing called Temple 12. What does Temple 12 mean? I don't know yet. I like the idea. I like the idea of self-governing. I like the idea of having a clean conscience. I like the idea of when no one else is watching, I can discipline myself and exercise myself, whether it be body, in my mind, or in my spirit, and just see how far I can take myself. I'm the only limitation. And I'll hold myself accountable for what I do with my life. And so I call it Temple 12, and I call it Timeless Leadership because whilst I still have the core roots of a Christian and I value my spirituality, I learn from if it's leadership, if it's moral law, I will learn it from anyone, anywhere in the world, because to me there is only one moral law. And that's why I can resonate with all sorts of people, different faiths, different communities, whether it's corporate, whether it's an Indian culture, whether it's a Greek culture, whether it's whatever, 108 countries. I bet you if I sat down with each person from 108 countries, we can talk the same language if it resonates moral law. We have the same language. And that's why I've been able to talk to interpreters and they laugh at the same joke. Why? Because we all speak the same language. We're human beings. Neither male nor female, neither young nor old, neither poor nor rich. And so I call it Temple 12, and the idea of the temple is and I asked a friend of mine who, if you put it up just a little bit just to see the template, and I'm going to get to the female, so yeah, if you put up a bit more, balance the powers here. So I asked a friend of mine who's a great artist, a sketch artist, I said, can you draw me a Templar? And the Templar was, back in about 1100, there were a group called the Templars. They were warriors, they were soldiers, they were also priests, they were also economists, they were also architects, they were also masons. They could have been a farmer, you actually didn't know who the Templar was. And they were a part of a very large religious organisation, and they were a part of causing that religious organisation to grow. But once the religious organisation worked against conscience, worked against moral law, the Templar would rise up and fight the system. So the very system that nurtured them, that empowered them, they would begin to fight the system. This is also true of the female Templars. I asked my friend, draw a female Templar so we can balance the powers. But to me, a warrior is neither male nor female. I love the idea of fighting bad ideas. I love the idea of accountability. And the only way I can hold another person accountable is not to actually say, I hold you accountable, is by holding myself accountable to the highest order. And so I said, can you draw me a picture of a Templar bowed down before conscience? Before conscience. And you have to determine what that actually means for you. And as long as your conscience is clear with the honesty of your own heart, you're ready to fight. And you're ready to lose everything as a result of conscience, not system, not rules and regulations, not what has been imposed upon you. You're willing to fight your parents. I teach young people. I encourage you to be respectfully rebellious towards your parents one day. If you're going to have to find yourself. But be respectful. I say that within any faith. Whilst you have a gift, and if you have a gift, even more so, if you have an influential gift, I'm telling you, faiths would love to take your energy and cause them to grow. Whether it's a business, they'll take you on. Whether it's a union group, whether it's a government agency, whether it's an education system, I'm encouraging you, do not get caught up, and excuse me if I'll share this word, but I'm sorry, but you sometimes just got to say the right word. Do not get caught up with what they call the bitch of success. It will bite you. It will intoxicate you. It will cause you to see things that are not real and feel things that are not there and cause you to lose everything. I was 45 years old. Can we go to the next slide and I'll show you a bit of a... there's me in a lake in the middle of a desert, anyway. So as a result of this experience, I was 45 years old. I was about to lose my marriage. My children had distanced themselves from me. Why? They said, Dad, you're a perfectionist. Before I came to this understanding of the Templar, I was 45 years old. What a shame. But you learn when you're a bit later in life. I'm 45 years old and I'm 20 kilos heavier than I am now. My wife looks at me, a beautiful new house, bought a couple of sports cars, motorbikes, away from the religious cult now. Now I'm in the corporate cult. And she's seeing me and she says, Tom, you've changed and I don't like what you've turned into. You give the world your best and you come home and you have nothing for us. You give the world your best, you're smiling and you're doing these deals and you're making lots of money for everyone else, but you have nothing for yourself. And you know what, Tom? I can't give you what you're looking for. The scariest thing in the world. This is what, coming back to women, the three most powerful, or the four most powerful women in my life is my 93-year-old mother, who says that my whole life has been like a rose. All the way to the top, it's been thorns. I was a domestic slave for 73 years until my dad died 20 years ago. And God has given me the best years of my life in the last few years. Her body is wasted. She can barely walk. And I visit her every weekend. I stay with her for a few hours. And she says, these are the best years of my life. And what is that? She's a leader. She's a woman of influence. She's a woman of integrity. She holds no position. She was a cleaner. But you know what she put inside Tom? And little did she know, she says, your character and your name is worth everything. So my mum scares me.